As you can see from the performance, this is not a visual move, but I think it is a very important move, right? And the reason why I want to touch on this move is because I see it all the time on Instagram and it's not good. I mean, some people can do it nicely, but there are some finer points that I want to touch on, right? And yeah, so the move is called the diagonal jog, right? Originally, it wasn't its own move, right? It was done as like a transition move, right? For stuff like the diagonal palm shift, right? But it wasn't until this book right here, Expert Card Technique by Jean-Jacques and Frederick Browie, that it became its own move. And Jerry Andrus, from this book, Andrus Deals You In, actually has a different mechanic from the usual diagonal jog. So what I am going to be doing is I'm going to teach 3 variations of the move, right? One is something that I've accumulated throughout my years of practice. The other is directly from Jerry Andrus's book. And the third one is just a minor tweak from my side concerning a Jerry Andrus's move. What you want to do, right, for this first version is that you want to know how to control pressure in the deck, right? So this is your standard dealer's grip, right? Like middle ring and pinky finger on the right side of the deck, and your thumb on the left side of the deck, and your index is resting on the front edge of the deck. But for this particular move, you're going to want to move your middle finger upwards to the right corner of the deck, right? And this is going to be important because this is where all the pressure is going to be, right? So the deck is essentially held in between of your thumb and middle finger, right, on the top corners, right? So you have a card out jog for this one. So you have your pressure, right, straight on the front of the deck, and what you're going to do is that you're going to contact the upper left corner of the deck with your middle finger of the opposite hand, right? So what you're so this is going to be so you're basically stretching your hand in a diagonal fashion, right? And this is very important because what happens is that when you push the card in, because of the natural diagonal extension, when you push the card in, it'll retract the card diagonally, right? So this is a very so the mechanics are very natural to the positioning, right? So if you do it with the index, it doesn't work because you're not stretching your fingers diagonally and you're not pushing it diagonally in, because you are pushing it straight down. So it is very important that you contact it with your middle finger. And as you can see, it actually angle jogs the card. This is like a very basic move, but there are some flashpoints that I want to touch on that some people miss. So it is very important that you keep your thumb on this edge. And why I say this is because I see a lot of people do this, right? And that is not correct because this exposes the left edge, right? By removing your thumb and then dragging it, you're actually exposing this corner, and that is not ideal because it exposes the method. So what you want to do is that you can just let your thumb stay there, right? Your thumb is not rigid, right? It has some elastic. I can't speak. The card can sink into your thumb, so you don't have to worry about losing that corner even though your thumb's there, because the corner will naturally sink into the flesh of your thumb. Even if you lose the corner and your thumb can't contact it anymore, it's still exposed on this side. So what you can do is that you can actually use the fingers on the right side to kick this corner back out. So it is it's basically impossible for you to lose this corner. So there is no need for you to clear the thumb from the corner when you are pushing this card in. The second flashpoint is from here, the top right corner of the card. And this is a very simple fix. It's because, you're already in biddle grip in your right hand, so you're already partially covering the card, right? But if you're really worried about this, what you can do is that you can take your pinky finger, and what you can do is that you can actually kick the card down so that this corner is square with the front of the deck, right? So you'll see that the corner is no longer exposed, but you still have the angle jog. So if you're worried, you can do this, and then you could take your pinky and you can kick the card into an angle jog. Obviously that was an exposed view, don't actually do this. In motion it would be something like this, right? Very simple action. The other thing that I want to touch on is why the middle finger is on the upper right corner of the deck, and that's because it allows the maximum amount of space to clear for this corner, right? Because because this card is pretty much pivoting off of the middle finger. So if it is let's say near the center of the deck and you do the diagonal jog, you'll notice that not a lot of the card protrudes out, and obviously that's not bad, but it's not necessarily ideal, especially if you're just starting out. Next we have method 2 directly from Jerry Andrus's book. So this is just called the diagonal jog. That's where I got the name from. So again, you're gonna need to change grips. So from a standard dealer's grip, you're gonna want to move your index to the long edge of the deck to join the other fingers. And this is actually pretty important, right? So you have your out jog card here, and as you push the card in, what you're gonna want to do is that you're gonna want to wrap your index around the long edge of the deck, right? And what this allows you to do is that actually creates a pivot point, right? So let's take this card for example. If you have your card over here and you pinch it, right, you'll notice that no matter where you push it, it'll pivot around your thumb and index over here. That's basically what we're doing, but with the entire deck and a card out jogged, right? So you have your pivot point, and from here you can basically contact anywhere on the front edge of the out jog card, and you'll notice they'll naturally want to pivot around this card, right? So now I want to touch on the third method, which is basically just a finesse version of Jerry Andrus' version from my side. So what I noticed is that you needed a grip change for this move to work, but it's not necessary for you to have it because any other finger will work for this, right? So I don't really like grip changes, so what you can do is that you can actually replace the index finger with the middle finger. So rather than wrapping the index finger around the edge of the deck, you can have the middle finger wrapped around the edge of the deck. So you have your out jog card here, and you have a pivot point over here created by your middle finger. And this allows you to maintain a standard dealer's grip. Well, not really standard since your middle finger is wrapped around, but a relatively similar grip to a standard dealer's grip. So here you have your pivot point, and you could push it in near the center of the front edge of the card, and you'll notice that we'll actually get an angle jog. So let's get into some applications for the move, right? For the diagonal jog. So even though it's a transition move, there are still things that you can do with it. One is that if you actually notice, you get your angle jog, is that it contacts the pinky. So what you can do with the pinky is that you can press down and kick the card back in, and what you have is now a pinky break above the selection. So what this means is that if you pick up from the break and cut the deck, you'll notice that the card now ends up on top, right? Same thing with when you kick the card up, is that now you have a pinky break below the selection, which means when you cut the deck, the card will end up on the bottom. So that's just a very basic application, but it's a way for you to maintain a break, without needing any motion, right? Without needing any tension. But as a transition move, what you can do is that you can actually transition into a side jog. So you're holding it, so for this one, you're going to want to hold it in a right hand middle grip right after the angle jog, and you want to maintain the pressure with the right middle finger and the thumb. And you'll notice that with this right corner protruding out, you can actually glide your pinky along the front edge of the deck. And what this allows you to do is that it actually straightens out the card, but side jogs it. So just as a visual representation here, and what this allows you to do is, if you actually straighten it out, right, you'll get a side jog. So I won't explain what you can use a side jog for, but you can look up on that in some of the references that I am going to give later on. So the second application is obviously in this weird angle position, which is usually synonymous with the diagonal palm shift, but you can also use it for different slides such as the cherry control or the panoramic shift. So just as a way to get into it, you just get your angle jog, and then you could just use your thumb to drag the card downwards with your middle finger. So just as a representation, what you're going to do is that you're going to move the card like so, right? But with your thumb and middle finger, right here, and you're basically just gonna drag it down. So this is usually where people flash this corner on Instagram, but that's not necessary. You can just do this. Your thumb is just mushy enough for you to be able to do this without flashing the corner, right? Without replacing your thumb on top of the corner, right? The last thing that you can do with an angle jog is to get an Injog. So you have your angle jog here, but what you can do is that you can take your pinky finger, you can kick it, right? And what this allows you to do is to get a slight protrusion from the end of the deck on your side, right? So here you can relax it, and then what you can do is that you can reach over with your opposite hand and pick up on the Injog, give it a cut, and the selection ends up at the bottom of the deck, right? Same thing with this, same thing with the Injog. You can kick it, and then you could push down on the card. So then, sorry, I lost it. Yeah, there we go. you can push down on the Injog to get a thumb break above the selection, so then you can just cut it, and now it's on top. So before we go, I just want to give some additional resources for the angle jog, or where you can go from there. And so you can check out Ricky Smith's download on the Cherry Control, as well as Tony Chang's download on the Cherry Control. You can also purchase Expert Card Technique, which is, you know, a classic of Magic. You can also purchase SW Erdnace's Expert at the Card Table, which contains the diagonal palm shift, and also any diagonal palm shift project out there, like with Andrew Frost, right? His Patreon, I think, touches on that. I'm not sure though. I might need to check on that. You can also check out Dennis Kim's Ephemera project, which is amazing. And you can also check out Jerry Andrus's card control series, right? There are 2 pamphlets that are filled with some of the most amazing slides. But I think the physical version is sold out, so you'll need to purchase the ebook. There's also this book, which is Andrew Steals You In, which is unfortunately out of print, but if you can find it, buy it, because it's really good. And so that's about it for all the additional resources. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and see you guys next time.